Collegiate sports are an important part of the college experience because of the many doors that it opens for students. Today we will learn about those opportunities from Lehman College Athletic Director Dr. Mari Zwiren, who is here with us to discuss the athletic programs here at Lehman, as well as our own state-of-the-art sports facility known as the Apex. It's a pleasure having you on the program, Dr. Zwiren. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Miguel. It's a pleasure being here.
So what are the responsibilities of an athletic director? Let's start with that.
The responsibilities of an athletic director are ongoing day and night. I'm basically responsible for managing the 17 varsity teams that Lehman has, all of its head coaches, the assistant coaches, the travel, the budget aspect of the program, and the management of the athletic facilities at Lehman College.
So you're the head coach.
I'm the head coach of the head coaches.
There you go.
Correct.
So tell me about the 17 varsity teams. When you say 17 varsity teams, does that mean that there's also junior varsity teams?
No, we do not have any junior varsity teams, only NCAA or NCAA Division III programs. We've got 9 men's and 8 women's teams, and they're all very competitive. They play in the CUNY Athletic Conference. Our men's soccer team is tied for the lead right now in CUNY, and our women's volleyball team is also placed second in the CUNY Athletic Conference so far.
So what does it mean to be an NCAA Division III as opposed to Division I or Division II?
Well, the Division I's and the Division II schools, the only thing that separates the Division I's and Division II's and threes are athletic scholarships. The larger Division I schools are all the big football schools that you see on television throughout the weekend. Some of the Division II schools are the lesser schools. Some do not have football. And then there's the Division III schools, which are non-athletic scholarship related. These are kids who want to go to college, who want to play sports for the love of it, not because they're getting money and they're getting scholarships.
So there are no scholarships involved for any of our athletes?
No athletic scholarships for student athletes at any Division III school.
And still they're able to win championships?
We've won our share of championships at Lehman College. We're very proud of that.
So, but when you compete, you say you compete with CUNY schools and SUNY as well?
We also compete against the SUNYs, but we play out-of-conference league games, non-league games against the non-CUNY schools. Mm-hmm. The 10 senior colleges are the colleges that represent the CUNY Athletic Conference.
Okay, and during the course of a year, your teams will play other teams from several states.
We play the SUNYs, we play the Pennsylvania schools, the Long Island schools, the Skyline schools, and the New Jersey schools. So our athletes are well-rounded, and they're represented throughout the tri-state region.
And it's obviously very, very competitive.
We like to keep it competitive, Miguel. We really like to keep our teams winning. We like to keep our teams well recruited. We recruit from the high schools and from the community colleges. We get the best qualified students, because they're student athletes first, and the best qualified athletes for the teams.
And overall, how many students would you say are involved in your program? How many athletes do you have?
On our 17 teams, there are 275 athletes.
Wow.
Spread out through those teams. We got a bunch of kids who just love sports.
Okay, and let's go through those teams, through those sports that we're covering here. You're talking about 8 and 9?
9 men's and 8 women's.
Okay.
So let's take the season that we're running right now.
Okay.
This is women's tennis, men's and women's cross country, soccer, and women's volleyball. Now, when we get into the winter sports, it's men's and women's swimming, men's and women's basketball, and then we get into the spring sports, which is baseball, softball. We've got indoor track and field for men and women, outdoor track and field for men and women, and then we have men's tennis rounding out the 17 sports. I think I've named them all.
Wow, it's hard to keep up with all of that.
Yeah.
But again, these teams, they are volunteer players because they're not scholarship players. So this is for the love of the game. Do you find that there is a difference between that kind of athlete and the ones that may be playing for the other divisions, because these guys are doing it basically for the love of the art?
Well, the players that we try to recruit are not only players that, student athletes that want to come to Lehman to get a good education, that want to graduate, that want to go on to be successes in life. But we get kids who love their individual sports. We try to specialize where we recruit student athletes for one specific sport. And as you mentioned, there's no scholarships, there's no financial aid for athletics, there's no free clothing and cars like you might read in the newspapers for other sports. So they're here and they're getting a well-rounded college education and they're getting a well-rounded experience athletically, and they just love to play the sport that they're interested in.
All right, and tell me about some of the recent championships some of your teams have won.
Well, last year we beat NYU in the ECAC Men's Basketball Championship at NYU. It was a great victory. We've been very good in men's and women's track and field. So we've won.
I remember a couple of years ago the women's basketball team won.
The women's basketball team won the CUNY championship. We went on to the NCAA tournament, and we played the University of Scranton at Scranton. So it's a well-rounded program. It's a well-rounded experience. It's something that keeps the kids interested, and it adds to their Lehman College experience.
One sport that obviously is gaining a lot of popularity is soccer.
Right.
And for a while there was talk in Lehman. Oh, I heard talk in Lehman. Oh, there's a soccer club. And
right.
when we walk around campus here, we see them practicing out there.
Yep.
Now it's officially a part of your department. It's an official team now, right?
Yes, we're in our third year of varsity soccer. The first year was a club sport. The second year was official NCAA sport. And now we're in the third year, and we're 5-2-1 in the conference. We played last night. We beat York College, and we're tied for first place.
Amazing, because I remember that during the club era, they couldn't win a game, right?
Well, we struggled a little bit because we had students that were at Lehman that were not recruited, that loved soccer, that had some high school experience. But our coach Joe Andre has done a great job with that, and managed to get a whole bunch of kids from high schools that were good high school kids in soccer, and we're off to the races now.
What about new sports? Are you considering adding, for example, women's soccer? Is there a women's team? Are you interested in adding that to the program?
Well, we're certainly interested in hearing from the student body and hearing that what they're interested in and how many students that they're interested in playing. And the other aspect, Miguel, is really getting funding for the sports. That's something that we would have to explore and get funding for an additional sport.